Welcome back to the Isaac Abrams Show, everybody. I'm your host, Isaac Abrams. Today's very special guest joining us from the Are You Serious crew, advertising extraordinaire, stand-up comedian, Porsche connoisseur, and now first-time philanthropist, Alex Sivers, everybody. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
In this episode, we dive super deep into how we got into advertising, which is great for a comedy podcast. But if you have ever wanted to know any inside tips and tricks on how to either get on the agency side or the set side, this is the podcast for you. If you enjoy advertising, this is the podcast for you. If you're looking for something funny, this is also the podcast for you. I've known Alex for literally 18 years and 3 weeks. And we moved here together. We were in a band together. We got signed in that band together. We did not get signed with that band together. We lost our record deal together. And we moved to California together. We got jobs in the film business. I'm not letting him talk during the intro because he talked nonstop for the last 90 minutes. It's a great episode. Alex, thank you for being here. You can't find him on social media at all because he's too busy making other people famous. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the episode. You know what would have been more fun? We should have gone to Target and bought a bunch of kids' music toys.
Oh my God, why didn't we do that?
And write songs.
We could still do that.
That's what I'm going to do.
We got time, and we kind of got to wait out traffic.
We got drinking to do. Plus, Target's like 2-3 blocks from here.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about that thing.
What, this watch?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
What the is that?
It's just a swatch.
Is it really?
Yeah. But it's like $300, but it looks like it's a Swiss watch.
I would rob you for it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's got like the really, the like high-end clasp
you mean like
situation.
This? Yeah.
Yeah,
like that.
Well, no.
Hey, now. I should have worn my gold one.
Yeah.
What's the did you switch out the wedding ring?
Yeah, I went silicone. Partially just for general comfort and partially because I've turned into a what my daughter calls a big back.
What's a big back?
A fat boy. Turned into a fat boy.
Fat boy slim.
Yeah, I got a big back.
Yeah.
I've been packing things into this big back.
Dude, what is it? Donuts and jelly rolls and stuff?
God, what is my vice? It's not even... God, I feel like it's not smoking is a big thing because there's, the only thing that satiates my appetite is food now. It's not vice.
Right.
I don't drink hardly ever anymore.
Oh, you're going to
I
drink
don't
tonight.
smoke hardly. Oh, you're going to get it.
Yeah. Boy.
I don't smoke, period. Haven't in, I don't know, it feels like a year.
You're the best case scenario for staying smoking.
Yeah.
You should be on the poster. It should be before and after.
I know. It's so true.
Never quit.
I mean, if I didn't get my cluster headaches, I would never quit smoking. I'd still be sneaking.
Oh, does it help?
Smokes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that the cause?
No, but it's a big, they haven't tied it directly, but almost everyone that gets cluster headaches either does or has in the past smoked. It's a big, consistent.
100% reason why.
It's a big contributing exactly the reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. So
you still taking mushrooms for it?
Yeah, I take mushrooms for that and just for general mental maintenance, because they're fun. Fucking mushrooms are the best drug.
Dude, I have been buying these gummies from the weed shop. Not the weed shop. The
mushroom gummies?
Mushroom gummies from the fucking vape shop.
Yeah.
And they're microdosing gummies or whatever. Mm-hmm. They can't have psilocybin in them. It's not illegal. It's not legal. But having a vape shop's not legal either. So if you're going to get busted.
Yeah, right? I think they are probably legit. I mean,
all they do is cause me existential dread. I don't feel silly. I get real quiet. Oh, but I also mix them with weed gummies. I don't know what's what.
Fuck, man. I can't do edible weed. I can barely do smokable weed.
Weed's rough.
Yeah. There's there's a little Goldilocks space with weed. If I have the right sativa and I have half a hit, I feel pretty good and I'm kind of happy. Mm-hmm. Anything more than that, same amount but an indica, slightly more but the right kind, and it's off the rails. I have a not good time.
Yeah.
So
you're spinning backwards in your head.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gotten. I think I developed a tolerance to it when I was younger, and then I think I didn't do it for 10 years, and now I just I'm very sensitive to it. I think that's part of it. I think it's also that we just changed over time.
Dude, we grew up smoking Mexican brickweed in North Carolina.
And I would smoke an eighth of weed when I was 12 years old out of a soda can when I didn't know shit about the world, and it wouldn't freak me out at all. I'd go fucking to soccer practice.
And you still wonder where those headaches came from?
It's a fair point. I mean, I am paying some prices for a childhood well lived or a adolescence well lived.
Oh yeah, same.
There is that.
I think I paid in full already because I'm so old.
Yeah,
I did all that acid, dude. It fried me. Like right when you met me, I was coming out of that big acid phase, and I was paranoid for the first decade you knew me. So they're coming for us, man.
That's what it was. It was the acid. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of my comedy career, what do you remember the night? I'm trying to work on this joke.
Do you remember when I became the funniest person you knew?
I was already whatever.
Does all this come new?
Oh, I get it. Yeah. What's new in here? Just this is a lot more cum.
All of it, though?
Yeah, it's new. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what these things are for.
That's great.
They catch it.
Yeah, that's what burlap is for.
Do you remember when we were cohabitating together?
Yeah.
With Keith?
Yep.
Do you remember the day he brought the dog home?
Gunther?
Gunner.
No, it was Gunther.
It was Gunner.
It was Gunner?
It was Gunner.
Wait, hold on. Are you 100% on this?
Yeah, I'm 1,000%.
It's not Gunther? Mm-mm. It was Gunner.
It was Gunner. Gunner's dead. Here's the thing.
No, I know that, but Gunther. No?
No.
Okay. Yes, I remember when he brought back Gunner.
Chip. Chip's the little one.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm one of the first times I ever...
Gunner, by the way, was the fucking best dog.
But,
God, such a cool
well, their last dog, who just passed, was even better. Like, just super chill.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh.
Now they got a new one. It's a puppy. It's bouncing off the walls.
Wait, Chip was super chill?
Chip was not chill.
Oh,
Chip was the min pin. And
yes.
So the first time I ever did an open mic ever, I'm at this bar. Nick and Craig signed me up for the open mic, and I didn't know it. Because they're like, you've been talking about being a comedian for years. You're going to do it tonight.
Okay.
So I went up on stage. There's one other person in the room. It's Nick and Craig. They still have the video somewhere. And I'm like, I just got to tell a story. And so I try to tell the story of the day Keith and Kiera brought Chip home.
Oh, yes, because he was exactly the same as their much larger Doberman.
Correct.
Yeah.
Same color, same everything. So the story goes, on stage, the story goes, me and you were smoking weed. Big dog walks out of the room. Little dog walks in. We're like, oh, my God, we shrank the dog. We got to call Keith.
Okay.
I need a fresh set of eyes on it because I want to tell the story on stage.
Okay.
And I want to hear your perspective of how you remember it because there could be something in there to help me tell the story in a way that's not like it's fucking, it's a hat on a hat right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hat on a hat.
It's going to stay that way?
I don't know. I mean, it's, okay. All right. I see what you're saying.
What's another angle to come at it from? Or is this too inside comedy for you?
I feel like
it's like, hey, write a professional joke on air right now.
Yeah, I'm feeling that's what I'm feeling right now. Yeah. I'm sure there's definitely another angle. There's probably 50 other angles that are where it's being approached right now isn't an angle. It's just what happened.
Right.
And now it needs an angle.
There's no take on it.
Yeah. It's takeless. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm takeless.
Oh, dude, Garth.
Yeah.
Very funny.
God, that I'm Seamus that was really good.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah. Really impressed.
People that don't like it consist of Alex Sellers and
really?
Korn. They're like, yeah, this is cute, whatever.
It's the best.
It's hilarious.
It's the best.
Yeah, I'm going to repost it.
It's the best dog-related thing I've seen on the internet.
Oh, come on.
For sure. I mean, that said, I'm not really the target audience for it. Because
you're not even on social media.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think you would do very well on social media.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think if you ranted into your phone for a minute and a half into TikTok every day, you'd replace your current income with a similar salary in a year.
Yeah, that could be true. But
because here's what I'm realizing. All right, forget the dog story.
Yeah.
Here's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
We talk about this on the phone, but I want to talk about it on air. Mm-hmm. You were the first person to tell me that I need a take.
Yeah,
I need a
point of view.
Mm-hmm. I don't have one. Okay. I wasn't built with one.
No, the funny thing is that you are. But there's this wild thing that happens. You see it with actors all the time as an AD that like here's the actor that I've been interacting with all day that I've been bringing to the trailer, been checking in with, been making sure they're good, making sure they've got everything that they need to perform and all that. And then action happens and they're a different person, right? Mm-hmm. You have that. I mean, I'm not trying to toot your horn to the degree that it toots your horn, but you have that, like, you operate like that. When the lights go on, something switches, right? And that something that switches to something, to a slate that you create. It's no longer Isaac. When that red light comes on, it's not Isaac coming on. It's you're putting on a character of some kind, even if it's a light character.
Interesting.
And Isaac.
You think even on the pod I do that?
I think so. I think Isaac at the bar has a point of view on fucking everything. If I'm like, hey, I love that table, and you're like, I fuck those tables. You know why? You have a fucking point of view on everything.
I don't think so.
You had a point of view on the honey at Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. You had a point of view on having the bags at the Coffee Bean or not. You got a point of view on everything. On whether the CVS was a Whole Foods or the Whole Foods was a CVS. Within the first 5 minutes of us meeting in LA today, you had a point of view on everything that we interacted with.
But none of that stuff is important.
Well, but even the stuff, okay, well, then maybe we're unpacking. Maybe you have easy points of view on things that don't matter and more challenging points of view on things that do.
Here's my pushback.
Okay, go on.
I'll have an initial point of view.
Okay.
But if someone has a better idea, I'm like, oh, that's better.
Attach right to that.
Yeah. Well, because I'll switch my point of view. I'll go, oh, yeah, he's right.
That's great. That's the best position. I think that's the best position as a person to be in is what a friend and client of mine says, a strong position loosely held. So you make these really strong positions. Fuck this coffee. And then someone's like, no. I actually love this coffee because, versus the other kind of coffee, it actually does this. And you're like, yeah, you know what? You're totally right. That coffee's great. And it's like 2 seconds ago, you're screaming, fuck that coffee. But it's about taking strong positions, but holding on to them loosely.
But doesn't that make you appear weak?
No, I think it makes you appear open because I could just be taking a hard stance on this because I love it and I want to hear why you love it. Right? And if I just say, I love this coffee, and you're like, I do too, you're not going to tell me why you love it. If I say, fuck this coffee, defend it, or I'm going to throw it off the table, then you come up with the best reason. You come up with the best reason.
Good luck.
That it deserves to live, right?
Yeah.
And so it can just be a way for people to fish, right? And I think it's actually kind of an effective way to fish for your point of view, is to really press on it and say, I don't like that. Prove to me why it should exist. Which I like. I do see what you're saying. It can make you look weak or make you look like you flip-flop or whatever, right? Yeah. But, like, we're not fucking candidates for office. We don't have to take a position and ride it out,
right?
The rest of our career.
Yeah, you don't have to go down with the ship on it.
Yeah. I mean, for things that you do, maybe it's not wise to be a fisher, a fisherman. Mm-hmm. But let's just say you take the point of view of being, I mean, comedy is very much like that, right? It's like, I think of someone like, Bill Burr, one of his formulas is to say like, abortion is killing babies, and then have everyone be like, whoa, what the fuck? Should we leave right now? Mm-hmm. And then reel him back in. And so he's kind of fishing in that way. So he can see how deep they go on their reaction, how deep the groans are, how lacking the laughter is.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's like, okay, how hard do I need to reel him back in? How far out did they go? How hard do I need to pull right now to get him back in?
Yeah.
And so he's fishing in a way there too. And he's not flip-flopping, it's a dance.
But then you have the opposite side of that coin where you have like the Tim Dillons where he'll make a point for the right and then he'll flip and make a point for the left. And you don't know what side you're on until you just decide, oh, I'm on this side, so he must be talking to me and he's right on this side.
And that's part of his power is that it's that hardball approach. I forgot who used to be on hardball. I think it was Hannity and then someone from the left. But it's like, make a really great point for this side, make a really great point for this side. Mm-hmm. And what the listener does is sits right here in the middle. And that's the smart place to be always, whether it's politically or monetarily or emotionally or with relationships. You don't want to be, dating a million people or dating no people. You don't want to be all red or all blue. You don't want to be all gas, no brakes. You don't want to be all awake and no sleep, right? You got to be in the fucking middle on everything in your life.
But I am in the middle. And I find myself being a chameleon, like when I'm around my former co-host, Misty. She's very left-wing. We did a whole 400 episodes of like ultra left-wing pop culture political shit. And when I'm around her, I'm like, yeah, she's making great points. The left is the way to go. And then I have some successful business friends that are like, dude, it's Republican or nothing. And I'm like, I can see your point there.
You got me there.
Well, that's the
I do love money.
That's the oil money talk coming out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's both. If you look, this is sort of true. It's not exactly true, but like it's a good way to think about it. If you're not left wing, you don't have a heart. If you're not right wing, you don't have a head.
Yeah.
And the truth is you have both. So here you are. And the people that are all the way over here don't have a head. And the people that are all the way over here don't have a heart.
But these people on the far right and left, they comment on stuff on the internet, which is what makes you famous.
Yes, that's right. But it appeals to extreme. I mean, if you got on right now, if you could just commandeer the 5 biggest social channels in the world right now and just take every issue by issue, abortion, fucking whatever, right? Gun rights, all these. You take every fucking issue.
Both issues.
And you said the most sensible thing that landed in the dead middle of all those issues that everyone could agree on. And everyone's like, yeah, you're fucking right. No one would that wouldn't go viral. Right? Because the sensible thing here in the middle is something that you're supposed to figure out. You're supposed to listen to this insane person, and then this is oppositely insane person, and then you're supposed to augment your view, just a tiny little bit from here to, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's like 80-90% of the voting bases within my fucking pinky nail of this center line.
Right.
And then it's just a handful of people out here. Everyone's right here.
Well, let me ask you this, because for those of you at home that don't know, Alex works in advertising. And we'll leave it at that. You're on calls with clients all day long. Can you, on the call, like a comedian would pivot if he can sense the crowd going a different way? Mm-hmm. How do you notice when it's time to pivot? Like you're going down a road and you can tell that they're pulling back as a client, and then you're going, "Oh, this isn't working." Or would that be more of a salesman's job, which you don't do anymore?
No, I do. I mean, I'm more, frankly, almost more on the sales side. But this is not the answer you or anyone wants to hear, because it's not interesting necessarily or provocative, or maybe it is. Hopefully, it is. But it is the truth. I can promise that. It is. The easiest thing to say is it's case by case. It all depends, right? And that's true. And the next easiest thing to say, but it's also equally true, if not even more true, is it is all in service of them. If you have, I hate to call it empathy because it makes me sound like, when people say they rescued a dog,
right?
It's like, in this case, empathy is just me, like, I truly am putting myself in their position. And it's not because, I'm trying to save the world or something. It's because I'm trying to understand them and understand where they're coming from. But it is 100% the guidance of it is me seeing in their eyes and then thinking to myself, ooh, I know exactly what they're thinking right now. They're thinking that I only have this much money to produce this, and what they're saying sounds great, but I know I can't afford it, so I'm just wasting my time right here, and now I'm getting this existential dread that maybe I won't find the right agency to do this thing and solve this problem for me. Or, I love this idea and I can afford it, but that time just isn't going to work. They're delivering 4 days before this goes live, and if anything fucking happens, we're fucked. And now this doesn't happen anymore, and now I'm dreading a whole new thing. I found the right agency, and they're doing it for the money, and the creative is really exciting, but now I'd have to dread if it's ever even going to happen because we might blow the deadline. Mm-hmm. And so it really is all about truly putting yourself in their shoes, which to be able to do that, you have to have reps with them. It's part of the reason that I don't think I have innately any different skills that I did than when we moved to LA when I was 20 years old, before I could even legally drink a beer. Mm-hmm. I don't have any different skills now than I do. I just have seen and met more people and have, listened to them or talked with them or tried to listen. I've gotten a lot better at that in the last 10 years than I was the first 10 years.
What?
It's good. but it really is just, learning people, learning how the system operates, learning how expectations flow between a CMO and a marketing manager or a marketing director and, product marketing managers, and how everything flows down and how expectations flow down and how money flows down and how all their KPIs flow down and what their world looks like. And the better you understand that, the more you can be on the call across the Zoom or even without seeing them and just check the tone of voice that they have and say to yourself, fuck, you're up against this, and this. That's probably why you're not really excited right now. I expected you to be really excited. Why aren't you? Is it because you hate me? It's because we're not friends anymore? Is it because the creative sucks? Is it because it's way more expensive than you thought? Taking too much time? But that's all what it is. I mean, it's just knowing the business and knowing their position enough to know when and how and where to pivot. And a lot of it's just shooting shots. A lot of it is having enough humility in your tone of voice and your approach to be willing to be wrong and just say like, hey, we were going to go this direction with the last 15 minutes of this, but I just want to maybe propose and be willing to be wrong that maybe we just talk about this for 15 minutes. And sometimes you just wasted the last 15 minutes of the call. But sometimes you get off that call and your producer offlines you and says, fuck, that was brilliant. That saved the project. Or that client does the thing that you want them to do by the end of that call, or they call back and they say, hey, let's have a follow-up. That was really helpful. Let's do this. Let's set another meeting for tomorrow to cover the thing we wanted to do in the 15 minutes, but time well spent, and this thing's awarded, or I feel great about this now, or whatever it might be. So it's not like the great answer, but I think it's just
it's not clippable.
It's not clippable.
I tuned the fuck out.
Did you?
No, okay. I'm following you, and this is really interesting to me because I followed your career very closely.
As many have. Yeah.
Sure.
It was really hard to get away from for a while.
What, your career?
Yeah. Now you can cue the flutters of me on the many magazines. Ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. Girls on film.
Both of them. No, the thing that was interesting that you said to me was that you got to get reps in with the clients, right?
Yeah.
Which is just like a comedian has to get reps in on the stage.
Yeah.
From the first time you speak to a client till the project's delivered, how many calls is that? In fact, until you even get a purchasing decision, is it like, how do you just warm up? Hey, my name's Al. What happens what's the initial call like?
I think, especially in our industry, especially now, it is what you really need on the sales side is just someone who cares, who really deeply wants to improve this relationship with the client, not just for this project, but for the long term. I mean, I put zero effort into clients that I don't want to have many jobs with. And I put all the effort into clients that I'm like, this is the first of many, many, many. We'll maybe lose money on this. We'll maybe lose time. We'll maybe the team and myself will have a real fucking hard go at this first project, but it's not about this first project. It's about building a long-term relationship. But I think what the sales side of it, what it needs, because it really is all about the product. It's not like, when we first started in this industry, I don't think it was necessarily like this, but definitely gone are the days of like, I hire this production company or this agency because they take me out to dinner and they buy me Louis Vuitton bags. Right. That is not, ain't
nobody got no time for that.
Ain't worth a fucking dime. Don't buy the bag because it's not getting you the job. Because it is about results. There's a lot more accountability to those results because it's a lot more trackable. It used to be like Nielsen said that like fucking kids are loving this shit. They didn't fucking. I mean, they knew a little bit, but they're like now they fucking know. They're like Billy and everyone that looks like Billy opened this up yesterday. They opened it, they took an action, and they bought the Lego. Right? And it's like everything's so much more targeted. It's like you can't hide behind your bullshit. You can't hide behind your fucking. Your dress and your persona and your vibe. You can't.
Well, Gary Vee was just talking about that. I don't know how closely you follow him.
Not at all.
Which is interesting because you guys are very similar. But he was giving a speech to other advertising executives, and he was saying how like everybody's getting these reports.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you about this because you can get a report that says the creative is the shit.
Of course.
And backs up your argument and show it to the client like, this report says that this creative is the shit and this is what you need it for. When you just manufactured it. Like it's like getting a double-blind study for your drug for the FDA when it's just all bullshit so you get your pill passed. Yep. So where do you get those reports? You guys don't participate in that shit, right? You don't manufacture reports. You don't need it, right?
We don't. I mean, because we work in enterprise so much, we're a step removed. I mean, they're managing their own channels a lot of the time just because we're talking about like Fortune 20 companies, right? And they just are very reticent to put out main channels or just give the keys to the castle, so to speak, to someone that like, some intern could tweet something horrible that could plummet the stock value by billions of dollars. They're just not playing that game.
Right.
So the access to be able to pull a lot of the meaningful analytics are just, it's two steps away from us. It's something we don't
That's all in-house shit.
But when you're with mid-market or small to medium-sized business companies, they'll readily hand over the keys. I mean, I handed over our keys to our marketing to a couple of great agencies, one here in LA.
Wait, you're an advertising agency
Yep.
that hired an advertising agency?
Bet your balls.
Seriously?
Absolutely. It's a mechanic's car, man. You can't, I mean, if you want a nice car, if you want to generate business through marketing channels and through PR and other spaces, it doesn't matter if you do those things. You can't do them for yourself. It's just one of those
That's interesting because I was just having this conversation the other day because I can take anybody else's podcast
Yep.
and I can blow it up.
Yep.
But my podcast has been stagnant since the day that it started. In fact, there's less audio listeners now than there ever have been before.
Smash that subscribe.
Hey, I mean, YouTube's doing great, but
Yeah.
audio-wise,
But not that great. Smash that subscribe.
So I am developing an actual marketing plan. And I'm going to put money into marketing my show.
Yep.
Is there even like a link? Like your agency is too big for a small podcast company to be like, what would you do? Unless I won the lottery and I could come to you with $500,000, you wouldn't market a podcast or a podcast network.
No, I mean, I can't say that we wouldn't, but it's like, it's one of those things where you build your operations at your agency to deliver the best possible product, to deliver on the good, cheap, and fast protocol. Mm-hmm. This is something I heard from Tom Waits, I think in some movie in the 90s, where he said, you have good, cheap, and fast, you can only pick two, right? And I refer to that probably easily multiple times a month for the last 20 years. But you're building operations so that you can pick those two readily, right? You want to build operations so that you can do really, really good work cheaply but not fast, or really good work fast but not cheap at all, or whatever, right? And you either pick one of those lanes or you build operations that can do any one of those versions depending on what the client needs. We're more of one of those agencies where it's like, we're not the agency that like it's one size fits none sort of thing. We're much more we're specialized into enterprise tech and into that industry vertical and a little bit into healthcare, but we're specialized in that space so that we can be flexible with kind of those three virtues of marketing. So going back to it, you build the operations to be able to do that for a certain space, which means that we could spend $5,000 for someone, right? But like 4 of it's going to be setting up the project, and the last 1,000 is going to be actually doing something. So it's like, what do you want to do with those 5 hours?
Right.
We set up the project for $4,000. Now you get you want 5 design hours?
Right.
Like,
and then there's no ad spend left.
And that's the thing. And so it's like we could do it, but it's just like, you don't start getting returns until you're hitting a threshold because we have to set the project up in a larger organism. And that's really every agency is set up in some way like that.
But let's take podcasting out of it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when the creative's over and done and shot and it's in the can, where do you find the assets being delivered most effectively now?
Like what channel?
Right. Is broadcast still the thing?
No.
Is self-service Hulu ads? Well, that's probably too simple for you, but like, is it YouTube ads? Is it, because that's targeted, you can put it directly in front of who you want to?
Yep.
Or are you guys so specific to Fortune 20 tech companies that you're just going to directly email that creative to one CEO and he's going to make a $50
All
million
the above.
purchase?
All the above. Yeah. I mean, certainly YouTube is very powerful just, because most people have an account, luckily. And so there's a lot of trackability. There's a lot of, they build an audience based on their playlist, right? And so it's like, which is such a beautiful thing. I mean, that's something that like Nielsen really ate shit on doing. I mean, they had the market cornered for so long when we didn't have a two-way street, but now that we have a two-way street and really robust two-way streets like YouTube for sure, super powerful, super smart, super targeted, not that expensive considering you're getting, especially for like really niche content, like you can dig into the niche of a niche of a niche of AV, audio-visual content, and say, they will like this. If I can just get this in front of them, they will like this.
Yeah.
And they will...
Or at least 1 out of 3 people will, I'm on the mark.
And if they don't buy, it's because my product isn't very good or because the content doesn't tell them enough about the product to, but I'm where I need to be, right? Like, that with whereas like if you put a billboard up on the 405, we have a billboard in LA. Is that where we need to be? I don't know. How many people commuting today are going to buy our app? I don't know.
Yeah.
How many of them are going to take their hand off the wheel to take a picture of the billboard so they remember it for later? None.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, out of home is always, the billboard example is like always, it's great for brand awareness. It's, it's part of a much bigger journey, which I guess would be my short answer, tagged onto a very long answer, is most of these channels still have their space. I think broadcast is at best awareness nowadays because there's just not an action you can take. People are used to watching YouTube. I mean, I do it all the fucking time. I watch an ad for YouTube and I click the shop now, or like on any of the, not just on YouTube, on, Facebook Reels or any of these spaces where you're seeing an advertising, you can take an action and you can go right to their website, not just to their website, but to that product page. And you can be buying in 2 clicks with Apple Pay. It's like in 20 seconds that I can go from awareness to intrigue to desire to demand to purchase. I can go through your whole fucking funnel in 15 seconds.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with multiple comics over the last couple of weeks where, like, if you're selling tickets, Facebook is the place to sell those tickets because you put an ad out, and a lot of people think they just can put a stand-up clip out and put a link to a ticket. It's like, that's not how it goes. You need to say your name, you need to say you're going to be in that city, and you need a one-click CTA, call to action, to buy the tickets. If you send them to your website and then they have to click again and fish around and not sure what date it is, like that one click has to go to the Dayton, Ohio tickets on the day that they're going to be up for sale. And a lot of guys are like,
I know.
They're like, why am I not selling tickets? I'm like, you got to decide how much money per ticket you want to spend.
Yep.
Is it worth $1 a ticket? $1 per $20 ticket? You're going to get your money back. But do you want to sell? You get a sellout bonus if you sell it.
Well, yes, you're totally right about all that. Absolutely. 100%. It then, okay, we figured that out. We explained that really well. Let's talk about the thing that you lose there, right? Because there is like, I no longer am mourning the loss of it, but like I loved what we did in broadcast commercials. I loved it. I loved making broadcast commercials. So it was fun. It was a fucking dream. I mean, we got to move to fucking the land of opportunity and make broadcast commercials. Right. Who does and then, you unpack, okay, well, what are those things? And it's like, I look back to the first commercial I ever really fell in love with was the Aaron Burr Got Milk commercial, which I think was Jeff Goodby Silverstein made that commercial, but whatever. I got to shoot with Jeff Goodby with Clay.
Really?
The Sonic ads. Yeah.
Nice.
It was like one of the great moments of my career was being able to sit in Video Village right next to the guy who made the commercial that I fell in love with, that made me recognize commercials as like, oh, this is brilliant.
Right. Refresh my, there's something about like Bill Burr.
Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr. The guy that shot Alexander Hamilton.
Right. But it's a Got Milk
he's
commercial.
Eating a cookie while he's listening to the radio, and it's like, and now for the $20,000 sweepstakes drawing, who shot Alexander Hamilton? He's got a cookie in his mouth, and he's like, Aaron Burr. And they're like, sorry, sir, I can't understand you. And he's looking for milk all over the fucking the museum. It's a beautiful commercial. It's very simple, and I mean, there's definitely more interesting or deep commercials, but it was a very special commercial to me. Still is now. When I see it, I'm like, this is fucking really well done.
Yeah.
Perfectly. It was part of the reason that I loved working with Kinka Usher. He approached commercials in the exact same way. And like almost all of his commercials had that same like fun, elevated, like whimsical entry, like even his like Visa commercials, that Kinka would shoot, or like his Honda commercials. It's like you would enter a world. He did a really good job, and that's what that Got Milk commercial did. It's like you're going through the halls of this museum for 2 seconds, and you're already like, ooh, so fun, so intriguing, so warm wood and warm light, and all that, all these like great things that were production design and gaffers and DPs saying like, okay, let's set the scene here. This is our our opportunity to set the scene. We got to have a bust of Ben Franklin and a this and a that, and it's like, okay, you're there, you're in the museum, you're feeling this thing, and we're 3 seconds in, right? Like, and that's why I used to love working with Kinka, because he would be like in those first 6 storyboards, you're like, ooh, I'm locked in, I'm in this. We're in a farmer's market, and there's a hummingbird flying around to the Visa cart, and it's like, you've locked me in to this little, and it's a beautiful thing with broadcast commercials back then, is they would be these little vignettes, but they were like so rich. They just locked you the fuck in 10 seconds. You watch a movie, you're not locked in for 30 minutes, and like these commercials lock you in 7 seconds and you're fucking there. You're like, awesome. Tell me the story. And then the story's told in 20 more seconds. And you're like, let's go to the store.
You know, the thought that I'm having now that I've never realized is that I feel like commercials is the highest level of sketch comedy.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a crossover. I've never seen anybody that's like, oh, I'm writing this sketch show because I hope I can bust into commercials one day.
Right.
People that do sketch want to stay in sketch.
It's funny, though.
On SNL.
It's one of the things that I love about Clay. Shout out Clay Weiner. Is, that's his jam. Like he came from writing on Conan and with, a bunch of really brilliant people in that like kind of New York comedy writing space. And then focused in on groups like Groundlings and Second City. And that's like, and he still is now. Like he focuses in on people that are coming up through those spaces that are in sketch comedy. And he very much approaches comedy in that same way still. And he has completely not abandoned that. And every time he has, and I mean, in my experience, every time he has a comedic problem to solve, he's approaching it like a seasoned sketch comedy person would approach it, kind of writer actor.
And he may be the single example of the crossover between SNL and the commercial world. Yeah. Now, to be fair, there's probably been 1,000 actors that have gone through SNL that have acted in commercials. But how many writers from SNL went on to work at an agency?
I have no idea.
It could be thousands. I'm thinking it's fucking zero.
Could be one or it could be thousands. I don't know. But it is an interesting, there is like a lot of interesting fundamental crossovers between those two things. Going back really quick to, I think what I said was what was lost by, broadcast is if anything, it kind of always was an awareness thing. Because if you think about the marketing funnel, right, that Got Milk commercial was awareness for a product, not even a brand, but just a category, food and beverage, milk. We didn't even get down to Crowley or to Altadena or to any of the brands. It was just way up there. It was pre-funnel, right? It was just categorically things, nouns, food and beverage, milk.
Right.
You still got to get to a brand. You got to get to the percentage. You got to get to the store you buy it in. Then you got to actually buy the milk. And it was like you had millions and millions pumped into demand. Let's drive demand before they even hit the funnel.
Right.
Let's put all that money, all that effort, all that brilliance into milk. You don't see that anymore because what people want is to say, yeah, we could do that. We could do this big, long marketing road of you get a little bit of awareness when you're watching the 5 o'clock news and you see that funny Aaron Burr commercial. And then you go to the store and you go to the milk aisle and you remember it and you're like, oh, funny, I do need milk. And then you make a decision and you buy, right? But now it's Facebook and you see an ad of someone that looks like you because they know what you look like drinking the milk, and then it's like shop now Amazon Fresh, and you click it and you buy the milk. It's like it all just happened in 9 seconds now. We don't have to do this whole long lengthy journey and invest millions into awareness and all. It's like we can do awareness, demand, buy in fucking 14 seconds.
But to be fair, the Got Milk commercials, I think, were paid for by the Dairy Farmers Association.
It was, yeah.
And it doesn't matter what brand you buy it from. They're pumping the milk out of the cows.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
So
they're driving against all the udders in the nation.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's pumping milk, they're making money.
100%. Yep.
But
so it maybe is an unfair comparison is what you're saying.
I don't know if it's unfair, but do they even bother now? Or do they leave it up to the specific brands? Like, does the Dairy Association even...
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
we knocked it out of the park with Got Milk.
When was the last time you saw an American Dairy Farmer commercial or Beef It's What's for Dinner? That was like the pork equivalent of that.
They don't care where you're getting your beef.
Or the other white meat. That was like the pork version. And then the Beef It's What's for Dinner was like the beef cattle. Mm-hmm. You just don't really see stuff at that level. But even if you took it down a peg, let's just say you've gone food and beverage, food, cereal, Kellogg's, Fruit Loops. It would still, you're just reaching the top of that funnel of like, okay, we're trying to drive awareness of or desire and demand for cereal. We're trying to focus that in on Kellogg's and Fruit Loops. You still don't know where to buy it. That commercial doesn't tell you where to get Fruit Loops. It doesn't tell you how much they cost. It doesn't tell how much is in the box. It doesn't tell you cost per ounce. It's like not digging in at all to that. It's just like fucking Fruit Loops, dog.
Yeah.
It's still just driving this really like broad desire for cereal and maybe Fruit Loops. Like that's 30 seconds into the commercial. It's gone. And now what's in your head? Cereal, maybe Fruit Loops. That's what they did. They spent millions to do that. Now they don't have to do that. They have to, they say, get it in front of them and give them an opportunity to buy. And then it all just happens right there, and they can track it all so they can say, that commercial didn't work. You know why? I know why. Because it didn't directly go to the link. People didn't buy straight from that link. So we're going to do something else.
But to take it back to your specific job, earlier you were saying that you want to work with companies that you work with multiple times over.
Oh,
so
okay.
Along that funnel,
Yep.
You don't want to work with Fruit Loops. You want to work with Kellogg's. Kellogg's has 50 cereals. You want the Kellogg's account. You want all 50 cereals.
Amen. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that strategy is part of not cannibalizing your own business, right? And it's companies used to, maybe they didn't care, or maybe the game was just slightly different. Nowadays, you really have to be smarter about agency consolidation, because you can easily cannibalize your own business with conflicting messages or just confusing messages when you put them together. You could be Amazon and be launching this product, right? This Alexa product, and then Ring, a company that you're very tied into. I don't know if it's Ring. I forgot what their other, Blink is like another offshoot. So it's like Alexa and Blink could rob from each other, right? And it's like, they're all under one, we're all common goal, guys. So it's like, if the same agency or the same group isn't supporting like really parallel products, you could end up spending money against each other and just, inadvertently competing with each other, right?
Whose job is to figure out whether or not you're inadvertently competing with each other? Is that an in-house thing, or do you have
That's
somebody...
a brand. I mean, that should be a brand side thing. Should be...
Is there any due diligence on your end where you're like, hey, just so you know, we know that this is also happening over here? Do you do that as a courtesy to your client?
I mean, that's a very... No, you would never really do that. I mean, you might stumble on some evidence that would suggest that, but really it should be someone at like the, marketing director, or, someone at the control center to be able to like look at campaign and look at campaign performance, to be able to identify like, whoa, you guys are spending there's a lot of ad spend happening right here at the same time to the same audience. That should not be happening. We're competing against the funny thing that happens all the fucking time with these really big companies is what does it cost for a YouTube pre-roll? Whatever people are willing to pay for it.
Well, that's true.
And so if you have product A and B, and they're basically the same fucking product with a different name, and you offer $1 to sit in front of Isaac's podcast, and then this other guy offers $2. Then this other guy offers $3. Now the price is $3. Now it's $4. Now it's $5. The problem is, product A and B are both your products, so you're bidding up the price of media by yourself,
right?
Because of your lack of consolidation of oversight. And so that's something that like is usually identified after the fact if the strategy isn't put in place in the front end, and it should be, right? It's like when you take your product line, the problem becomes you have a really diverse product line. I mean, what does Amazon do? Goddamn everything.
Yeah.
So when your product is everything, not competing against yourself is a very hard thing to do, right? And it's part of the reason you don't see a ton of advertising from Amazon, generally speaking.
Well, you don't, because you're not on social media.
Oh, okay. So you
on Instagram, it will literally, I'm scrolling through and it's like, bam, the last thing you looked at on Instagram or on Amazon,
and
then you can swipe through that, and it's 5 other things that I think you might, and all of a sudden I was on Instagram and now I'm on Amazon.
Okay, well I mean, it's a really, just going back to the oversight on that, it's a really hard job to do if you have a product line that's that diverse and that kind of holistic, right? Because it's like, it's kind of like it's like you run the War Department and the Peace Department, right? It's like, I got to make both of them operate really well. Both of them need to blow the roof off this year. Yeah. How though? Because more war is bad for this, more peace is bad, right? And so it's a very complicated role, but it comes down to all these products, and then the audiences that you have for all these products, and then the overlay of all these audiences and their journeys to buy, enjoy, rebuy, and, stay loyal to your product. How much crossover is there? How can we remarket to the same people when they buy a camera? How do we remarket a speaker to them? How do we do, and how do we do that in a way that we're not bidding against ourselves? When this team is trying to get them to buy a new camera, we're just trying to upsell them into a speaker, and now we're competing for the ad space, for us to remarket the camera they already bought, and you're trying to remarket a speaker to add on to their experience. And so it's a very complicated, frankly, a very, very complicated thing. And it's very easy to see how you would cannibalize from yourself, and some of it's probably completely unavoidable.
Well, where does the line stop? Like, how much of that is the responsibility of the marketing team of the product, and how much of that do they lay on you?
That depends. I mean, it's usually like,
or really, is it a la carte? Can they go, we don't know what we're doing, take it away? Jesus, take the wheel.
All the versions, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like, an internal team is handling the speaker, and the agency's handling the camera. And the agency's going gangbusters with these ad buys. They don't care if they're cannibalizing the business of the speaker. That's not their account, right? And so that's part of the reason that consolidation is important, or that it's important to consider, because you could imagine the goods and bads out of that, right? Consolidation would mean that you can hold your agency accountable to say, like, you guys are robbing from yourselves to sell the camera and the speaker. What the fuck are you doing, right? That's great. A great thing about consolidation. A bad thing about consolidation is, where are the fresh ideas? These speakers aren't fucking moving. And it's like, oh, we'll have Bill write up some more. And you're like, Bill's last 4 ideas kind of fucking sucked. Is there someone else? And they're like, no, Bill's our guy. Yeah. Right?
We have one Bill.
And so that's the problem with consolidation is, stale ideas or stale strategies. And agencies are better and better and better all the time at that, because they know they're fighting that. Agencies need as consistent work as possible, and, to build that relationship, just like the brand team is trying to do with the products. So they're doing everything they can to keep that healthy. But, so they're very aware of that being the problem that they would face as they grow into, a bigger and bigger market share with this client. But in some ways, the perception is certainly unavoidable, right? Like, you could have the freshest ideas week in, week out. It's really easy for someone to say, let's shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys for a couple quarters. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And grass is always greener. Or as I like to say, the grass is yellow everywhere. It just depends on where you're standing.
Or the grass is green where you water it.
That's cute too.
Yeah.
I just like
That's cute.
I like to say the grass everywhere is yellow. When you're standing right over it, you can see it for what it is. And everything in your periphery, the angle is such that it appears green.
When you say that, is that coming from like the standpoint of like the purchasing decision maker on the client end could always pull the parachute of going like, I want something better?
Yes. I mean, I use that phrase across everything.
Because it means nothing?
Well, no, because it means that everything comes with its goods and its bads. Everything. Absolutely everything.
It just sounds like somebody pissed on all the grass.
Candy tastes great. It makes you die faster.
Right.
It's just everything is that. Everything.
But in advertising, it's our job to highlight the benefits and kind of mask.
Well, that's a funny thing to bring up too. I think more and more people are really craving. People don't identify, I don't think, as much as they used to, at least, with this like idealist pitch. I really don't think people love that. As like, take a puff of this vape and, elevate yourself into this new world of pink bubbles. And it's like, oh my God, that's how I'm going to feel. If I buy that vape, I'm going to all of a sudden wear this like fluffy sweater and I'm going to be floating on a bubble, just like the commercial says. Like, I think that it's, it's fun and it's theatrical and all that, but that's also like kind of an awareness thing. But if you were to walk into a supermarket and you're like, hey, what's up with that pink vape? And they're like, dude, you trust me, buy this, $32. You take your first hit of that outside, you're going to be on a fucking pink bubble. I guarantee you're on a pink bubble, right? It's not how you sell stuff. You sell stuff and you're like, it's good. I mean, it says you get 3,200 puffs. It's more like 2,100. It says pink watermelon. It actually tastes more like lemonade. It's really good, but it actually doesn't taste like watermelon at all.
Right.
And you're like, oh shit, yeah, I'll buy that.
That's more sales countery shit. That's point of sale kind of.
But that's where it matters. That's where the money's exchanging. And so I think more and more that finds its way up the funnel further and further. Is like if there's more honesty, there's a bit more if there's a bit more of that, there's a bit less of like, we have no faults, we have no flaws, we have none of that.
Right.
It's all good. It's all perfect.
Do you see brands like re-educating their on-the-ground sales force to coach and teach the point of sale people?
You know what I see more of is, I think it's part of the reason that it's really effective to segment down your audience. Like, this brand's for you, and it's not for them, and that's okay. You know, right? Because
making it an exclusive experience for you.
Because they find the audience where there's so many pros, the cons aren't even worth talking about.
Yeah.
So they're being authentic, right? Like go back to my analogy, this bar is not for people that have this pure expectation of what pink watermelon tastes like. Mm-hmm. It's for people that just like good taste. And it's not for people that have this pure expectation of what 3,200 puffs per bar is. It's for people that just like a reliable bar. So it's not that crowd that builds their whole experience on it delivering exactly to the numbers. That's not our audience. We're not going to market to them, mm-hmm. right? And so you're still being authentic. You're just authentically saying, fuck those people that care about that stuff we don't deliver on. Right. We're going to focus on the people that care about the stuff we do deliver on, so we can be authentic. We don't have to say, we don't actually do that. This actually isn't so great. Sorry, it didn't meet expectations. This guy doesn't care about any of those things. He cares about the things that it actually does do well, mm-hmm. right? And so I don't know if that makes sense, but I think the authenticity is really important. But instead of saying more and sharing more, you just take off the people that care about the
right.
things.
Like, you're not marketing vapes to pregnant women.
Right. Yeah.
You're just
right.
you're finding your audience.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
This is one thing that I've been like not researching. I hate saying I don't research anything. Mm-hmm. But to bring it back to this show, and selfishly, now that I have you here on camera and you're a professional in this world, what would you if I had all the money in the world I could afford to hire you and you weren't my friend, how would you help me define what the audience is for this show?
Okay, interesting. I mean, a lot of times where you start that conversation, this would be like maybe the nascent stages of figuring out your messaging and positioning, but like before you do that, you have to figure out like your why do you exist?
That's the number one question back after the question that I asked from I'd say 5 people this week.
Yeah.
Have you found your why?
Yeah.
I don't know why I do this show.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then the second question after that is, what are you selling?
Okay, well, hold on. You did say something there though. Your why is, I make this show because I love this show.
Right. I make this show for me.
Well, and then, so you have to, what we would do as an agency, if we were to accept that answer and not dig any further, and we're just like, that's the why, put it on the board. Everything would go back to that, right? You would say, hey, should I spend $5,000 on this ad? And then we'd be like, okay, well, what's it going to deliver on? Oh, it's going to put it, in Instagram and in TikTok. Well, why does that matter? Oh, because Isaac goes on Instagram and TikTok. And again, this is all for Isaac because he loves this show. So as long as we're delivering ads that deliver on the why, then we're killing it.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, you almost have to take it to its, you have to, take all the ladders down mm-hmm. to say, okay, well, what do we want to be serving? What do we like? What is my, if your why was to, change the hearts and minds of people that have the greatest chance of changing the world. So let's say it's 18 to 25 year olds, people that are just starting out, they're malleable, their direction is more malleable than others, and they're energized, right? And so it's like, that's my audience. I want to change the world. I want to change the world through my message. So those are the people I'm going to target because they have the longest time on the scoreboard, right? They got 60 years to change the world. And they're of age to vote, so they can make a difference, and they can, go get fucked up and do whatever, they're a perfect age. Okay, cool. You want to change the hearts and minds of 18 to 25 year olds. Your big meta why is to change the world, but then under that is now we're starting to build our strategy. Let's go for 18 to 25 year olds.
Right.
Let's do that. So what are the channels that we do that? Okay, 18 to 25 year olds are on fucking Facebook. Facebook, big red X. Mm-hmm. Now what are they on? And then we're building the tree down. And then we're like, okay, well, how do 18 to 25 year olds use TikTok? Yes, they're on it. How do they engage on it? Do they buy on it? Do they make decisions? Do they connect with people? Do they follow? Or is it just an awareness platform? Are they actually taking actions? Are 18 and 25 year olds following people? Are they going to their bio? Are they clicking the links? Are they, engaging with their sponsors? And if they are, it'd be like, okay, that's a great place for you to make money because they engage with sponsors so you can get money from a sponsor now. If we can get you traction on TikTok, then that's where your revenue can happen. You can get sponsors and you can put it in your TikTok bio, and that'll be people's way to monetize your message.
Where in the relationship between you and your clients does that research happen? And is the client paying for that? Or do you constantly have people researching the best ways to do stuff so that when you do sign a contract, you can take action right away?
You know, it's funny. That's actually, it's not a gray area necessarily, but it becomes a little bit of a gray area because, I mean, that what you just mentioned, it falls under a whole umbrella of strategy, right? Mm-hmm. It's like and that means different things to different people because it's a really nebulous thing, right? Like, I'm trying to like Tom's. What was the strategy with Tom's? It certainly was different than IBM, right? Totally different strategy. But like, how was it different? In so many incalculable ways. The whole why is different. The whole product is different. The whole market cap is different. The whole opportunity is different. Shoes can only go so far. Computers, they have an infinite funnel to,
right. And the people who are buying shoes aren't in the same price point as the people who are buying $1,000 computers.
And once, this is a big target, but once 8.5 billion people have shoes on their feet, what then? Right? You sell them a second pair?
Yeah. But I would say the return rate for shoe buyers is a little higher than the PC market.
Probably, yeah.
You would hope that your PC lasts you years.
Yeah, you would. Not back in the day. Remember they get like a virus and be like, well, this thing's junk. Yeah. It's fucking over.
Like, can you imagine if IBM was like, buy one and we'll give one to a child in Africa?
Yeah.
If Tom's and IBM switched marketing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then you go back to, you're like, yeah, well, all they really want is money and be able to spend it the way that they want. Like, they would much rather get the $22 than the shoes. But that's,
starting wars like, in third world countries.
Yeah, right. And then exactly. But anyway, getting back onto the topic, that all falls under an umbrella of strategy, which, like, who's responsible to be strategic? Fucking everyone, right? Like, you're the person who's, cleaning the table at the end of the night. You want them to be strategic, right? You, in their own way, right? You want them to disinfect the table and then put on the end dust and the the orange stuff that seeps in and makes this all protected and nice.
And you want them to work from the left side of the room to the right side of the room. You don't want them to go from here to here to here to here to here.
It's everyone's responsibility to be strategic, right? And so that stuff all falling under strategy, it's a little bit of everyone, no matter what's in your contract, right? Like it's got to be. I'm sure you've had this feeling many, many times in production of just seeing something happen on camera and you're like, that's fucked. That's going to ruin this commercial. That's going to get someone hurt. That's going to, that makes this whole commercial not work anymore. The thing that director just told that guy to do blows this whole thing. This thing was all going down one road, and all of a sudden it just took a right turn, and that's not the turn that the brand wants it to take to get people to buy this shit.
Yeah.
And
which is usually identified by the client or agency in the tent, but sometimes you're the one person on set that's like, can we get another one of those? But
that's, it's a perfect example because who's in Video Village right now? You got an agency producer, you got a creative director, you got a copywriter, you've got an art director, you've got the accounts person, and then you've got the person from the brand there. You've got the, brand marketing manager there, and maybe they're kind of second in command. And then you've got the line producer there, and then you've got the, there's fucking 16 people in this tent. And it's kind of everyone's job.
And none of them are paying attention.
Right? Yeah, most of them are writing emails for the next job.
Right.
Right. But like, it's very similar to that. Like, whose responsibility is strategy here? It's kind of a little bit of everyone's job, but there is that said, a distinct discipline of strategy, just like in Video Village, there's a distinct discipline of the creative director. Mm-hmm. That should be the person that says, whoa, that tone is totally wrong. We got to take another take. Can you bring AD? Can you bring the director in? Mm-hmm. We need to talk. That tone wasn't fucking right. We can't walk down that road. We can't move on until we have this conversation.
Which usually happens on the first take where the director hasn't had an opportunity to do any directing yet.
Right.
So this is a statement because it's not even a question, but I think that the world of being a commercial director is over. Like, if you are in college right now to be a commercial director,
listen up, kids.
Which no one in the history of ever has set out to just become a commercial director. Everybody that wanted to be a director has a greater vision to do films, short films, whatever. No one wants to do commercials. People take commercials for the paycheck. That being said,
Maybe. I know a couple of directors that I think actually do love commercials.
I love commercials.
Yeah, I do too.
But they are dead in Los Angeles. They're dead in the water. If I want to make a commercial, I have to get on an airplane.
God, that's so sad, man, because when we moved here, it was like...
You couldn't throw a rock without landing on a commercial set.
I mean, yeah.
We worked as much as we wanted to work.
If you crashed a car in LA, you have 4 yellow fucking JCL barricade signs stuck under your windshield wipers.
Yeah.
It's like, there's fucking location signs. Oh, there's more location signs than people in this town when we moved here.
It was nuts. We would be on different jobs across the street from each other.
Yeah.
And we also got hired a lot together because we were goofing off.
Yeah. Yep.
But
we also cared a lot. I mean, it was part of the reason that I think, I definitely wasn't I was probably a better PA than I was a coordinator, but I wasn't really great at any of it, like innately. It wasn't like my skill set wasn't organization as a coordinator, and it wasn't as a PM at all. And it wasn't, organization or foresight as a PA, because I didn't fucking know shit about film when we first started. Right?
None of us did. We didn't come here for film.
No.
We came here for that record deal.
All I knew was I'm in a place where there's really cool things happening that I want to understand better.
Yeah.
And that made me a good PA because I wanted to be, I don't know.
We were shitty PAs.
You guys could tell me if I was a good PA. I don't really remember.
Well, to put it in perspective, your first year, you worked 360 days out of billable days. You weren't, you took 6 weeks and went to France or whatever, but
oh yeah,
you were double dipping. You were prep rapping and just
Yep.
banking. Craig was doing the same thing. I worked 88 days that year. So who was a better PA? You also got an office PA gig, which took you to coordinating, which took you to production managing, which I think you skipped, and you went straight to producing.
You're actually totally right. I production managed one job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shifting gears, if anybody even made it to this point, but I have an analogy that I think applies to my current situation.
Yeah.
So much like you skipped production managing, I kind of skipped seconding. I seconded maybe 75 days. I was not a great second. I just had it in my head that I wanted to be a first AD. I was like, that job's cool. And I would rather do super low budget shit as the boss than do high budget shit as the PA.
We were exactly the same speed, different roads.
Right.
Yep. Totally.
Do you think, and this makes me feel better, and it stopped me from leading you down the path of saying yes because I want you to say yes. But the same thing that made me go, I'm going to be that, is the same thing that makes me think I could be a headliner as a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
And I see it in people now. I see people that are like, oh, you're going to be a PA and open micer forever. And I see people who just became a headliner, and that's a headliner because they said they wanted to be a headliner.
Well, this is like a really big idea, but I'll take what you just said all the way back to the idea of vision boards. Do you know why vision boards work?
I have no idea why people do vision boards.
Well, the reason that they work, it's just a fancy way of saying visualize your future, visualize the things that you want, and you'll be more likely to get them. The reason that is because you're not going to put time to something that you don't believe could happen.
Yeah.
Right? And like the moment that you say, I can be a first AD. I am a first AD. They just don't know it yet. That's a vision board. That is putting you with a walkie on your hip that says Isaac first AD on it. That's on the board, whether you made the board or not. Right? But it's like, if you don't believe it could happen, you're not going to put the time into making it happen. Right? And that's the whole thing of visualize yourself in the position. And it's like,
it's one of the reasons why I'm not a dairy farmer right now.
Right? Because I
putting
never
zero effort into being a dairy farmer. Got milk?
That's exactly right.
I have no milk.
That's exactly right. I mean, the interesting, fun thing that I think, aside from raising money for education, that the lottery does is it's this very simple concept of you've got to be in it to win it. You got to buy the ticket to take the ride, right? And that, for things that you don't need to buy is equally true in everything. You are never going to be a first AD if you don't buy the ticket of you could be one, because you're not going to put in the time. You're not going to learn how to schedule. You're not going to try to get close to the AD department. You're not going to try to be a key set PA so you can be there on set, see the cuts and rolls, see how the first AD it behaves with the talent, see how they negotiate the politics with agency and with the director and all that. You'll never be that, and you won't put yourself in that position either. You won't try to get close to them. You won't try to do them favors. You won't try to get on their jobs, because you don't ever see it happening, right? But the moment you see it happening, okay, now there's a tunnel. And at the very end of that tunnel is Isaac with a fucking sticker on his walkie that says first AD. I just need to get to it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, it's so fucking simple, but it's everything. Visualizing yourself where you want to be is everything.
Okay, that makes me have two thoughts. and hopefully this first thought will lead into the second thought. The first thought is I did, I don't know, 75 free first AD jobs for small budget music videos before I could do it for money. I shot 400 comedy shows before I got paid as a comedy photographer.
Yep.
How does that equate to, how can you do that in the advertising business? Do you go to college and then you get out and you're like, I got to work at an advertising agency. I got an advertising degree. Like, how do you go like, I'm going to go do some advertising for free? Like, how do you pay your dues before you get a job at an agency? Or do you just take the lowest tier position at any place that'll hire you and work your way up?
I mean, to some degree, I don't think there's any other way to do it. You know, like how I got into advertising was to take the lowest tier job in production, right? Is to take a PA job and get people coffee for free and clean up after people for free for the first couple jobs like we did.
Oh, man.
And then make $100 for a 20-hour day.
We split one PA rate. Our first job.
Yeah.
We did a hip hop music video in Carson.
Yep. Picking up glitter off the fucking
for hours,
the wet, cold
3
pavement.
We and the three of us, me, you, and Keith, split $200.
Yep.
And we fucking loved
Oh
it.
my God. It was one of the best days of my life. It was one of the most important days of my life.
Because it was the third day we lived here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just because some other cool shit happened earlier.
Oh, you got that handy from that dude behind the crafty truck.
It was quite handy. Yeah, I mean, it's sorry. So the question being, what's the road? I mean, you know, some people people that I think are maybe I've never seen anyone come up through spec spots. I've never seen that actually happen.
Really?
Never really where someone is like, I don't want to go to film school and then do this and then do that and then do this and then do that. I want to jump right to being a director. You know, I want to win the Doritos thing, do the Super Bowl commercial, and then next week be 40 grand a day on union commercial sets.
Actually, no, Doritos winner.
And was that the rest of his life?
No, he was already a director.
So there you go.
Yeah, he was a TV director, and he had the money to put into it.
Yeah,
and he rented aero mock-ups and did a thing on a plane.
So there you go. But I mean, even if you get the shortcut, right? Think of all the things. Can you imagine how fucking bad of an AD you would have been if, like, week 2 on set, someone was like, Isaac, is that you? We pulled your name out of the hat. You're a first AD now. That's your category. People will start calling you. We just sent out the bulletin. You'll start getting jobs. Can you imagine how fucked your jobs would have been?
That's basically what happened.
Well, but I mean, you had experience. You were on set. You saw the reps. You saw lots of rolls and cuts. You saw the mechanics of a set play out a lot of times without any skin in the game as a PA.
That's true. I did observe for hundreds and hundreds of days before.
There's no way to be great.
But the first time I ever first AD'd was for Kiefer Sutherland.
Yep.
That was nuts.
Yep.
He was like, "What are you, fucking new?" And I was like,
Yeah, I think it's pronounced Keither.
Oh, sure.
I'm just trying to do a Gunther thing.
Yeah. So the barrier to entry for working at an agency is physical production. Like, you need to go work and be on set.
No. That was just I don't think so. I think probably
but it would help if some of these fucking morons would put themselves on an actual set first.
I mean, it all depends though, because like sometimes you're going to be better at where you came from. So if you're going to be at an agency producing a whole bunch of live action stuff, I fucking hope you've been on a set before. Right? Like, it wouldn't be great for you to intern at a media agency and do a bunch of out-of-home advertising buying and buying billboards and stuff like that, as like a, junior producer, and then you work your way up into a producer. Now, all of a sudden, you're agency producer for a bunch of commercials, and you're like, yes, directors and shit, right? Am I right?
Petting your cat.
Am I right? Directors and shit?
Yes.
That's right.
Well, I'll have some of those directors, please.
And then second director's assistants or something.
Yes. And let's get that assistant editor in here too while we're at it.
Yeah. So it depends, like, wherever you come from, you're going to be strong at, right? And so if you're what you're trying to do is be at an agency that is multimedia and do a whole bunch of stuff, probably the best thing to do is to intern for 6 months at a media agency, intern for 6 months at a production company, and do this and do that, and like get a little flavor of everything, and then get a job as an associate producer or as an intern, and then work your way up into it. But
I totally forgot about interning, and that was the easy and short one word answer for this.
For sure.
I forgot.
Work for free. Yeah. Remember how you got in? Work for free. Yeah. Work for free.
Yeah, that's against the law, dude. I won't do that.
Well, you know what the thing is? This is very polarizing. I'm sorry, everyone, for the polarization, for the polar ice caps. But, like, one of my big problems with my ideological problems with a minimum wage is that it cuts a lot of people out of the workforce, right? Like, hear me out. If there was no minimum wage, then you can pay someone $0, which means that you're going to give someone that doesn't deserve to do this job to do. And they're going to prove that they can do it with you don't have to put skin in the game, which is giving someone an opportunity. That's what people don't calculate with this. They're just looking at the wage and they're like, 25 an hour is a living wage. I don't disagree. I mean, you're right. Like, honestly, I think it should be more like 60. Like, if we're talking living wage, right, where you can like react to bad shit that happens to life, you can buy a house. You can pay this fucking California. Forget about it. Like, 25 an hour is fuck off.
That's
like,
that's below the poverty line in Los Angeles.
I mean, all you have to do is have to have your car smogged, replace both catalytic converters, and that's all of the spare money you have for 3 fucking years. But guess what? That registration's coming up in 365 days again, and they're going to hit you again for 3 years of savings. Fuck this state. Because it's war on the poor. I think it's really fucked, honestly, to be honest with you. I think it's what California does to its people is a war on the poor. Like, I had enough money for it to not to be a financial problem for me, right? But like 2 of my 3 cars had to have $3,000 of work done so they could pass smog. For fucking what? Like, if that happens, and you know what, the cars that don't need a smog, brand new ones.
Yeah.
But how the fuck are you, even at 25, even at 50 an hour, living in LA for $2,500 a month for a fucking 1-bedroom, how are you supposed to afford a brand new car every 3 years before it needs like, it is a total war on the poor.
Well, if you do get a new car every 3 years, you're paying $3,600 in new car tax.
I mean, they get you everywhere.
Yeah.
And that fundamentally, it's not because Newsom went and ate fucking chicken while everyone had a mask on. It's not because he looks like a greasy politician. It's because of bullshit like this is why people are leaving California. Truly. But to get back to the wage thing, the way that you get into any industry is to get your shot, right? And if you're demanding a wage for your shot, you might get it, but it's way less likely. Right? Like, we wouldn't have gotten on set if we said, hey, bro, I don't work for any less than $250 a day.
Right.
We never would have been PAs. We never would have had a day on set. I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have been in advertising. I don't know what the fuck I would have done. Maybe something great. But
me neither.
But like, if whoever hired us for that said, I'm sorry, man, the government won't allow me to have you on set and not pay you $25 an hour, and I got like 40 people that have been doing this for 5 years, and I just need good people, and it's nothing against you guys, and I'd love to give you a shot. I just can't afford to. Truly, I can't afford to.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know when I can. That never would have happened. But we were like, we'll split a rate between the 3 of us so we can all get a shot here.
Yeah.
Which, whoever's idea that was, fucking bless him.
Craig.
Because Craig was able to give us all 3 a shot at once. What a fucking genius.
And then we had experience.
Yeah. I've thought about getting a Craig's name tattooed on me because I owe him so much for these little opportunities that he got us.
Okay, first of all, let me just correct you right there. He didn't do anything.
This is so good. Well, hold on, wait. Let's come back to this. But I just want to close off on that.
We should talk about that off.
We'll talk about that. I don't. You're gonna lose this argument because I've got a lot of energy in me on the contrary of your position. So
you don't know my position yet.
I don't need to know it.
The entire reason that you're sitting here right now.
Yeah, is Craig Gillis Cox Cornelius Esquire.
You didn't know his fucking name.
That's true.
I said, we were sitting in Wilmington after a practice for what's his name.
Yep.
And I go, Al, we're moving to California in 2 weeks.
And we knew each other for 9 minutes.
Maybe. I go, me and Keith are moving to California in 3 weeks. Do you want to go? And you said, fuck yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So thank you. You're welcome. Get my fucking name tattooed on your face. When you're making sweet love to your wife, I want her to be reading my fucking name.
I'll get you in the crux of my knee. How about that?
That's fine. I'll
in
pay
my knee
for
pit.
It. Yeah.
My knee pit.
Let's take that $1,800 you got in your pocket right now and go get my name tattooed.
Don't tell people that I have cash.
Well, this ain't coming out for 5 weeks.
If ever. But
no, probably not.
Going back to the wage thing, I truly, this is why I get heated about the whole war on the poor thing, because it if you were to ask me what I really wanted to do with my life to change things, that would be one of the things on the list.
Alleviate minimum wage.
No, it would be to go to fucking Sacramento and get them to understand that this is the greatest fucking state in this country. It's also the greatest place in the entire world. California has fucking everything. Beautiful mountains, fantastic beaches, gorgeous vistas, insane geography, perfect Mediterranean climate weather, something for every. It has it all. And it has like beautiful waterfalls, it has Yosemite and fucking waves and Big Sur, and it just has everything. I mean, it like bar none, you will never find a better chunk of land within an amount of borders that has things that California does. The only thing California doesn't have is fucking reasonability when it comes to its governance, and it is being governed for a very small amount of people and a very tight little ideology. And the truth of it is there's a lot of people in this state that are really just here on happenstance, that will happenstance their ass out of here when they realize they can get a 16% raise the moment they leave this state and they go to a place without income tax or just lower income tax, right? And they'll get out, when they go to smog their car and they have to surrender their vehicle because they can't afford to replace the catalytic converters that got stolen by the people that the cops aren't arresting in this, like this whole, my hat's off to people that are in hard financial positions that are sticking it out in California, because it's a terrifying place to live financially.
Yes.
If you're
in the macro,
if you're
I totally agree.
In the margins.
But I'm just having this thought right now. I'm not thinking it out. I'm just spitting it out.
Yeah.
What if there's a greater plan to thin the herd in California a little bit, to bring down the housing costs? Let's drive a couple million people out of California on purpose for a decade.
Yep.
And then in 2034, the housing prices have come down to a reasonable level. The citizens that made it are actually thriving.
Sure.
Do you think anybody's thinking that far in the future? Do you think that there's enough puppet string pullers to go, like, if it's a shitty place to live for 15 years, it's a better place to live for 25 years after that?
Here's the thing. If this takes us down actually a really productive road, I would believe that if you hired a governor of a state like you hire a CEO, right? Like if you said,
here's
hey,
$35 million a year, run us into the ground.
No, that's how it's currently happening.
Oh, right.
Here's $35 million a year, run us into the ground.
And then once we're broke, you get another 35 on your way out.
Fuck, that's amazing. No, I mean, performance-based pay, right? Like,
sure.
I think if we just shut down the election right now and we said, look, we're not fucking doing this. Neither of these people deserve this space. We're doing something different. Stand by. Mm-hmm. And if I could be invited into a dark room 50 floors below some mountain in South Dakota to figure out how we do it.
With a bunch of dudes.
After we got done with what we're there for.
Painting the walls.
When we are good and full.
What's new in here?
Then we would tackle the issue at hand.
Which is dick.
He just couldn't just let it be out there.
No, it's a hat on a hat.
It's a hat on a hat. We should say it. Yeah. We should talk about both hats.
See dog, say dog. Which is an old advertising term.
Yeah. So if we could say, hey, this job isn't $400,000 a year, which it isn't. It is that plus all your speaking fees later, plus all the under the table money that you got given to pass this bullshit. It happens on both sides, whatever. It just does. If you say it doesn't, fine. Say it doesn't.
It doesn't.
But say no. So
no.
I would prefer if the position was $200 million a year. And then if you raise our GDP by 3%, you get another $200 million. In the first year.
Does that math even work out?
Dude,
is 3% of our GDP $200 million extra to go to the governor?
Billions.
Really?
Billions.
Yeah. We are the sixth largest economy in the world, just the state of California.
I mean, our GDP is trillions, so 1% of our GDP is tens of billions.
That's for the country. You're talking about for the state of California.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So, yes, I moved over to the country. But yeah, let's talk state of California. If you raise the GDP, if you lower the unemployment, if you give them all these metrics. And it's like, hey, here's all those metrics graphed out. The higher you get on this line, you could leave office a fucking billionaire. You could leave office a billionaire.
Well, they're going to leave office a billionaire anyway.
You know who would raise their hand for that job? Smart people. People that deserve to be there, right? People that can run an organization. People that are outcome driven, not people that are politically driven, not people that want to get the job. You don't take the job to make $1 billion of running the state of California so that you can take the job of running the country. Maybe you do, but like, you do it not for the political reasons. You do it for the fucking money. Let's motivate them with money.
Right, but
let's get them in. Let's give them $1 billion. They made us $1 trillion. Let's give them $1 billion.
But just like we were talking about earlier, working for free to learn the job. There's nowhere to go practice being the governor.
Business school. That's what I'm suggesting.
Or is it being
MBAs.
a mayor? If you can run a town, then you can run a state. Like it's not even the same.
No, it's like you go get your MBA and then be a mayor. Be a mayor. Get the $150,000 salary, get the $500,000 bonus because you brought a Dollar General and 2 Circle K's to the city. You raised their commerce by 40%. Like, you got your $500,000 bonus. Cool. I was the mayor of Shitsville. Now I'm going to move up to be the mayor of Shit City. And then Shit City, you leave with your $1 million salary, your $6 million bonus because you hit all your objectives. Cool. I got $10 million in the bank. Now I'm going to go up to be the governor of dog shit state. And so now you're the governor of South Dakota. Sorry, South Dakota. And then you leave the governorship after 5 years with your $25 million salary and your $50 million bonuses because you hit all the KPIs. Now you're the fucking guy. You're fucking King Midas, right? Where to next? I don't know, but you're going to kick ass because that's what you do. You show up to places, you lower unemployment, you bring businesses in, you enrich wherever you govern. Welcome to the fucking presidency.
How do you implement that?
I mean,
how come everyone isn't talking about this?
Because it's one, it's too simple, and two, it's a like fundamental exit from the idea of politics. Politics, I haven't looked it up in the dictionary recently, but my best definition of it is popularity. It's a popularity contest. It is, am I saying, not am I doing, am I saying the things that resonate with you? The popular kid in class isn't the kid that's getting A pluses, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't the kid that's raising the GDP or lowering the this or the improving the that, right? It's the kid that is wearing the right shoes and is saying the right things and is picking on the right people and is not picking on the other right people, right? It's politicking. It's popularity. It is, it's the maneuvering, right? But it's not the results. In business, the whole point is results, right? You might do some maneuvering to be able to get the results, right? You might do some political maneuvering, but at the end of the day, if you do political maneuvering and you lower the income, you lower the revenue, you failed and you don't make any money.
But there's absolutely no consequences for failing. You just don't get to do it again.
Oh no, I'll miss my $400,000 salary.
Yeah, that you didn't need anyway because it took $100 million to get elected.
Exactly right. Yeah, and you funneled probably $4 million of that during the campaign to your brother-in-law. So either way, even if you lose the campaign, you're coming out richer.
There's no losers in politics.
No.
And I guarantee you behind closed doors.
Well, no, that's not true.
The people.
We lose.
Exactly.
Yes. We're the fucking stupid kids sitting there saying, I wish I could be Billy.
Yeah, and we're completely divided. It's red versus blue. Yep. And meanwhile, everybody in D.C., no matter what side of the aisle they're on, they're all having dinner together.
Yes.
Trying to figure out how they can keep us divided because they don't work for us. They work for big business.
Dude, have you ever seen that clip of, and I don't dislike Hillary. I mean, I respect a
weird flex,
a fuck ton of who and what she is. But have you ever seen that dinner where Trump is talking and he makes this joke to Hillary? It was like, I think it was during the 2016 election, like kind of early on in that cycle when they were a little less at each other's throats. But he was like, I walked by Hillary earlier to, this is a great Trump impression by the way. I walked by Hillary earlier tonight and she said, oh, pardon me, because he's like, you should be in jail.
Yeah.
And
her up.
She fucking lost it. She thought it was the funniest fucking thing she's heard. Like, as
Who
she
wrote
should.
that?
As she should. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's a great fucking joke.
Yeah.
But like, that's like, we were fully into psychotic, toxic politics by then. But like, that tells you everything you need to know. Is like, these two act like if she wins, everything lights on fire. If he wins, everything lights on fire. But meanwhile, they're over here making jokes and laughing at each other.
And it's having dinner together later.
Because it's the same people. It's the same people that, it's just, the richest people are up in the box with one-way glass at the fucking Santa Anita Downs. And you know why they're in the box week after week? Because they don't lose.
Yeah.
They don't lose because they know who's going to win.
They own the horses.
They own the horses.
We're all betting on.
They own the horses, and they also own the doctor that injected that one with this and this one with not that. Mm-hmm. And the reason that they're in the box today and they'll be there tomorrow, and the reason that you're here today and you'll be in the parking lot tomorrow and in the morgue the next day is because you're the loser in this game. And they're the winner because it's a political game. Because they know things that you don't know. They'll know things you can't possibly know. They're playing a game that you don't know what the board looks like. You don't know what the rules are. Mm-hmm. You don't know what the point of it is. Like you said, maybe they're trying to drive it down so everyone moves out so things become affordable, and in 20 years it's a utopia.
Right.
I don't fucking know, man, but we're not playing that game. We're not electing people.
We're not allowed to play that game. We're not in the club.
Right.
Well, but you have the potential to get into a wealth bracket that could be invited into the game.
Yeah, I just, every
Not
time...
to tell people that you have a lot of money, but I'm just saying, like, you've been a successful businessman relatively speaking, you make...
sure.
You run a
way
company.
more than when I was 23, I had more money than I ever thought I would. And I was a coordinator. So...
Right. We're a bunch of fucking redneck dirtbags from North Carolina. Or New York, or whatever.
Yeah. Same diff, though.
Same thing.
Same dirt.
We don't deserve to be here.
No.
And all we need to do is find Craig Cox
and thank him and see what he wants us to tattoo on.
Because basically, if he didn't move, okay. Now I'm conceding my point.
As you should. See, I'm glad you got there without us having to argue about it.
Right, because we're going to argue about it later anyway.
Yeah.
But he did move out to California first. He spent 9 months here by himself.
Yeah, that's hard to do, man.
Lonely Tigers, building stages with his bare hands.
I know, and then we did that with fucking Dave Shortbus. Yep. Building stages, that was some fucking rough work, man. Being out in the middle of the desert.
I don't want to hear it.
Hanging hot girders.
Bro.
Knob Factory was worse.
We did everything we could to stay here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we did everything we could to get a record deal except practice and write music.
or really put in any effort on what it really means to market a band. But
dude, if we had any concept of like grasping social media.
Oh my God.
The tail. In fact, after we shut the band down, one of our songs went viral.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Black and White got like 300,000 plays on MySpace.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a record we can't even put out. I was going to start a record label. This is where we're at now, right? I'm at the point now where I can just start a record label and put our old album out. We don't have the stems to that album.
Oh, yeah.
Just found an AI program that can break the stems out of the masters.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a shot. So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, more like 1 in a million.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up. We've done an hour and a half.
Oh, that's great.
I don't like editing 2-hour podcasts.
Well, here's the thing. Here's all I'll say is it's always great to be here with you. You're one of my oldest because you're getting up
very old.
You're a very old friend.
Not to mention that Keith is 10 years older than me.
That's insane.
Yeah.
He looks pretty fucking good though.
He had abs for his 50th birthday this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I look like I'm about to die. If you look at my midsection, it's probably terrible.
Well, you quit smoking. It's probably
scared to go.
Plummeted. We'll take it when we get to my house.
That's probably true. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll check
You
mine
got a
every
cuff?
day.
All right, let's cuff it.
I've been walking around at 180 over 140 for so long.
Is that dead man walking kind of numbers?
So high above stage 3 hypertension that like every time I go to the doctor, they're like, "You need to go to the hospital right now."
They've been saying that for 15 years.
They've been saying it. The last time I saw a doctor about it was March of 2020, and they were like, "You need to go to the hospital and get blood work." And I was like, "Oh, you want me to go get COVID?" No thanks.
And then you threw some brochures at him and laughed without paying your COVID.
Then I've had a mini stroke every 30 minutes since.
Oh God!
One day I won't be able to talk out of half the side of my face. It's probably going to be.
But dude, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm not trying to be like anti-healthcare intervention by any means, but like, it is all these things. The food, the vices, the sleep, the no sleep, all those things. Like everything goes into the stew. Everyone's a soup, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like there's some good things that came in genetically. There's some good things that come in just habitually. Like, are you the kind of person that likes to stay up late or whatever? And you're like, trading sleep for whatever,
Pussy.
pussy, whatever it is. But like all these things go into a soup. You can do some bad things, and then you can do some great things that offset those bad things, like they never even happened.
Oh yeah,
And,
I'm taking a shitload of supplements right now.
yeah, and so like you know, and then also beyond all that, people's bodies are built different. Like some people's bodies or some people's hearts can only take one heart attack. Some people's hearts can take 50 heart attacks. So
Yeah, this guy.
And so it's like I was talking to a friend about this earlier. You know, medicine, rightfully, is much like education. It's built for the masses. It's built for a median line, right? But if you're an outlier, let's say you're a social outlier, right? Or you're a psychological outlier. Who's to say that you're not a metabolic outlier? Who's to say that you're not a physical outlier in a lot of ways, right? And it might not be because you're Michael Phelps. It might be because you just have a really hardy cardiovascular system that, you know, constrains down this. You just have a naturally higher blood pressure. I'm not saying you do.
No. I mean, I love to think that I have this natural ability to just run hot, right? And I just operate at 180 over 140. That's how I was built. I was born that way.
You're like, no, this is normal for me.
It has absolutely nothing to do with smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 26 years and drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels every single fucking night.
Have you stopped it all to see if it changes?
It absolutely drops like a
it does.
stone. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like Joe Rogan says, you got to get better the same way you got sick. And so I'm slowly phasing things. Like, I can't just go, I didn't drink for 2 days. Why is my blood pressure not down? So
wait, what do you mean you have to get better the same way you
like
got
if
sick?
if it took you 3 years to get hooked on heroin, it's probably going to take you 3 years to get off.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And like it's just the same way as like, you know, how long do you think it's going to take to lose
But then
the weight?
it feels like the proper phrase is more so you got to get better over the same period of time that you got sick.
Well, if you have more time to say words, sure.
If you have more word time.
Speaking of word time, I'm only wrapping this podcast up because I'm going to piss myself.
Okay, great. There's a cup right there.
You and I are going to keep podcasting off podcast for the next couple hours. We're going to go to the beach and throw bags.
Facts.
We're going to drink. We're going to eat chicken wings.
We'll also play some cornhole.
Yeah, with our bags, with our ball bags. Alex Sivers, thank you for the masterclass
Isaac.
on advertising. Appreciate you. Love you like a brother.
Likewise.
Yeah. But at the end, do you know how the end goes? Welcome back to the Isaac Abrams Show, everybody. I'm your host, Isaac Abrams. Today's very special guest joining us from the Are You Serious crew, advertising extraordinaire, stand-up comedian, Porsche connoisseur, and now first-time philanthropist, Alex Sivers, everybody. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hi, thanks for having me.
In this episode, we cover, we dive super deep into how we got into advertising, which is great for a comedy podcast. But if you have ever wanted to know any inside tips and tricks on how to either get on the agency side or the set side, this is the podcast for you. If you enjoy advertising, this is the podcast for you. If you're looking for something funny, this is also the podcast for you. I've known Alex for literally 18 years and 3 weeks. And we moved here together. We were in a band together. We got signed in that band together. We did not get signed with that band together. We lost our record deal together. And we moved to California together. We got jobs in the film business. I'm not letting him talk during the intro because he talked nonstop for the last 90 minutes. It's a great episode. Alex, thank you for being here. You can't find him on social media at all because he's too busy making other people famous. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the episode.